Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Deluxe-class Autobot Skids. And as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging first. Let's bring it on in for the close-up. We'll just start right up here at the top. There you have the Transformers Legacy logo. And you've got your big open display area there. You've got Skids in his alt mode right there with all of his weapons looking cool. He is Autobot Skids. Transformers Legacy, Deluxe class on the front now, none on the sides. Transformers. Over here you've got some artwork. And on the back you have your product shots. It is the Autobot Skids. There are his accessories. He converts in 14 steps. And you have a QR code that you can scan to get all of his vital stats. And of course, parents. So, good to know. And then down here you have all your warnings. And you have your sad baby. I don't know why he's sad this time around. This is a cool figure. Over here on this side, you get some nice heroic shots of Skids, and underneath you get your manufacturing information. So that is it for the packaging. Let's go ahead and see what came inside that box. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box, and we will start front and center. You do still get your little sheet of warnings, so fear not. And then you also get, of course, his little transformation instruction booklet. And that leaves us with his 3 accessories. So we're going to start over here on the left, which is what I think is probably out of the 3 my favorite accessory. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this his blue Energon rifle axe. And if I'm wrong, somebody feel free to correct me. But yeah, this thing looks really cool. This is a translucent blue plastic, and of course you have that axe blade right there, but then you also have on the end the ability to fire a projectile. So yeah, this is cool. And as you can tell, he's got a peg right there where he can hold it in his hand like that in the axe mode, or you can mount it, and we'll see that later when we talk about the accessories in a little more detail. You can mount it this way, so it's supplemental to the other guns. But yeah, this thing is really cool. Same thing on both sides. Looks good. All right, now moving on, we have these 2 accessories over here, so let's go ahead and start with this dual laser pistol shoulder cannon, whatever you want it to be. But yeah, this thing looks nice. It is painted in silver. I'm trying to get my hands out of the way there so you can actually see it. Painted in silver, a good amount of detail on there. And then up under the bottom, and not a lot to see. You've got your peg right there. But I am happy to report that all of these weapons are blast effect compatible, so you can kind of see that there on the end where you've got that little peg for the blast effects. And moving on to our final accessory. Here you see his other pistol piece, which could be used as a standalone, or you could stack it together with the other pieces to make the super gun. Totally up to you, but pretty good amount of detail on there. Looks good all the way around. Bring it over to this side. And then up underneath. And there it is from the top. So yeah, nice little accessories that came with this Deluxe class. So that is it for everything that came inside the box except for Skids himself. So what we'll do now is we'll bring him in for his details and articulation. Here he is, the bot we've all been waiting to see. This is the Legacy Deluxe class Skids. So let's bring him in for his close-up, and we'll start as we always do, right up there with that head. And yeah, it's a good head sculpt. I like it. Good paint on there, nice blue eyes, nice sculpt work. Overall looks pretty good. And then of course that chest slash hood, the Autobot symbols looking nice and crisp, centered up. I like the blue that they've chosen. Coming down here, looking at the grill. You've got those nice yellow headlights. You've got this decked out in silver right here. You even have a little bit of splash of red down under there. And then you've got that detailing underneath. So it all looks really good. And coming down to his crotch, he's got that red centerpiece right there and the black hips, and then he has silver upper legs. Moving on down. Good amount of detail here. Would have been nice to have a little bit more paint right in this area because you do have some nice panels in there that would have benefited from it, but he is a deluxe class, so no major issues. And then he's got big old red feet. Nice big feet. Makes him nice and stable and easy to pose. And then coming around to the side of his legs. Looks pretty good. I mean, it's mostly just car right there, but you get up here and you can see that silver thigh, and then taking a look underneath here. Yeah, no major hollow areas. This all looks really good. And then coming up here to the arms, let's bring those arms down a little bit. So these arms are different from what we typically see as far as the way that they're configured. So they're a little on the skinny side, but they work pretty well. You've got those blues and blacks, nothing painted here on those arms, and then you've got those fists. And looking on the back side of the arms there, you do have a few hollow areas. They're not the worst I've ever seen on a figure, and I totally get it for a deluxe class, so no major complaints there. Now moving around to the back, I think really he looks pretty good. You know, you don't have any areas here where you're seeing him from the back and thinking, wow, this guy falls apart. He just works. It's just a good looking figure all the way around. So looking at the back of the head, that is essentially just part of the hood. And then of course you do have details on the inner doors. So that's good to see. I do like that. Little door handles there. It looks like speakers. And a little bit going on down here at the legs. Not a lot. Just a lot of car exterior. Now when you look at the insides of the legs, you do have some hollow areas. Let's go ahead and take a look at those now. So like I said, it's not the worst I've ever seen in a deluxe class, but I can definitely see where a third-party company is going to be able to make some upgrade kits for this guy and use some fillers, particularly right up in here and then in this area. But even then, I'm hoping I'm getting enough light in there. Even then, if you look close up in here, you still get some nice sculpted detail. So you get what looks like a spring up in there. So, you know, kudos to the designers for at least integrating that in as part of the design. So, yeah, I think from an overall look standpoint for a deluxe class, this guy looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and jump into that articulation. And we'll start right up here at the head. And the head doesn't have as much articulation as I would have liked to have seen. He can't really look up very well. So it's on a ball joint. I mean, you get a little bit of side to side. You get a little bit of down and a little bit of up, but it's not a lot. But you can turn that head around all the way if you choose to do so. These shoulders are unique. I like what they've done here because it does give you a great range of motion here. So you have this pivot point right here where you can bring those arms down if you want. Of course, this is for transformation, but you can also bring them up that far. So this makes it really helpful. Like if you want him shielding himself, you know, just figure out exactly how you want to do it. But you can do something where he's shielding his eyes from something. So you've got great articulation in those shoulders. I really, really like what they've done there. And then you have your pivot point right here, so you can take those shoulders all the way around if you want to. And then you have this pivot point, like we just saw. You could take that pretty much that far in and then down until you're bumping into him. And then you do have just over 90 on that elbow, and then bicep rotation all the way around. And then you do also have wrist rotation. So you can take those wrists all the way around in any position you want. So very well done. I really do like what they've done with the arms here. And then you do have waist rotation. So just looking out for this back piece, you can pretty much spin him around wherever you want at that waist. And even though it doesn't really count, you've got a pivot point right here for the transformation. So if you wanted to do kind of a, I don't know, back bend, kind of a matrix style thing, you could certainly take advantage of that if you choose to do so. And moving on down to the legs. So you don't get a full split on this guy just simply because he has these little lips right here. So when you open those up, they're going to bang into the edges of the hips right there. But you get a pretty decent amount. I mean, you're not going to want for a split. And as far as kicking, he can kick forward that far before he starts running into himself. And then he can kick backward. Normally you would have the hood like that. He can kick backward that far until he runs into the hood, but if you move that hood up and out of the way, you can take it even further back, and if you spread his leg out, you can bring it up even higher. So great forward and back kicking motion on this figure. And then you have your thigh rotation, so you can take him in that far. You can take him in about that far, or take him out about that far. You could maybe go further, but this feels like a hard stop to me, and I'm worried that I'm going to pop it out right there. So it's still enough thigh rotation that you'll get him in some really cool poses. And as far as the knees go, you get 90 degrees at the knee, and then down here at the feet you get nice deep ankle tilt right there, and you really don't get anything else. Everything else you're going to do is at the knee. So for the most part, I think articulation is good. He's looking a little... Ooh, there we go. Let's do that. There you go. He's looking a little Frankenstein monster there. Yeah, so articulation, I think this guy's done very well. You're not going to hurt trying to get him into some nice dynamic poses on your shelf. So very well done on articulation. So what we'll do now is we'll get this guy all accessorized up, take a look at a few of the different modes, the different things that you can do with those accessories, and go from there. Here we see Skids in what I'm going to go ahead and call Configuration 1 as far as the accessories go. And of course, yeah, I mean, I threw a bunch of blast effects on there because he's blast effect compatible and it's something that I'm compelled to do. But yeah, you can see what you can do with these accessories here. So, you know, you can have him in one hand using the dual pistol, in the other hand using the single pistol, and then here in the back you can have his energy weapon just on his back for storage. And you can swap these around any way you want to do that. I mean, he could be wielding the energy axe. He could, you know, have the dual pistol on his back for storage, etc., etc. So it's really up to you, whatever you want to do there. But yeah, you're relatively unlimited here as far as what you want to do with this guy. I mean, even the energy axe has a couple of ports here for effects compatibility as well. So you can really get crazy with this guy. But yeah, this looks good. So just as a demonstration of all the blast effect compatibility, it has a bunch of ports there, and then one of the different configurations for the accessories. And of course, you can have a rocket skids. Well, you know, you have to. And as you can see, he is flight stand compatible, so he's got the 3mm port in his butt. So yeah, there you go. That is what I'm going to call Configuration 1. And then we'll jump into the second configuration real quick. I'm not going to have him all blast affected up. I'm just going to focus on the accessories for the next one, but I wanted to show this to you guys real quick. So let's get into that second configuration. Here we see Skids with what I'm going to call Configuration 2, and it looks relatively basic, but it's really cool, everything that you can do with these three accessories. So you can use them together, you can use them separately, etc. So in this configuration, what I've done is I've just taken that dual pistol and I've put it in the port in his forearm, and then I have him holding his energy axe while he's firing his other single barrel pistol over here. So, you know, you could do something like this if you choose to do so, and I think it looks perfectly fine. I do personally like this, but I'm going to show you Configuration 3, which is definitely my favorite here. So, but yeah, there's Configuration number 2, just to give you an idea of what you can do. Again, as I've said in other reviews, limited only by your imagination here. They give you a lot of options, and man, it's cool. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite configuration. It doesn't have to be anybody else's favorite, but it is mine. I really enjoy the whole super gun aspect here. So you can see what we've done here essentially is just stack those three weapons up and plug them into each other. And I really like this mode. There's just something about a modular super gun conversion that I really dig. So this is probably the weapon I'm going to have him wielding on my shelf. I may switch it up every once in a while, but this will probably be his primary. So there you go. You've got plenty of options on how you want to configure these. You don't have to use this configuration. You can limit it only by your imagination, as I've said earlier. It's absolutely fantastic to have the options here, and I think what they've done with the accessories for this figure for a deluxe class, I think it's a job well done here, so I'm very happy with the way this all turned out. So what we'll do now is we'll get him into his alt mode and take a look at his details in his vehicle mode and go from there. Voila! Through the magic of video editing, here we see Skids in his vehicle mode, and it's a cute little vehicle mode. I like it. I don't know how accurate it is to the G1, what was that, a Honda City mini car, but it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a look at those details, and we'll start right up here on the front with that grille and those headlights. We saw this in bot mode, but it's definitely worth seeing again. Looks good there. Like the detail. And coming around here to the side, I do have to say my biggest issue is just with these wheels. I know he's a deluxe class. I know I talk about it all the time. But yeah, I don't like these mushroom pegs. So I do kind of like the way that the outer part of the wheel turns and then the inner mushroom peg doesn't. That looks kind of cool. I can't put my finger on exactly why, but I like it. And then you've got his little mirrors there, which are nice, and those door handles. And then you do have that nice paint job, those racing stripes running up the side. This almost kind of sort of looks like another fuel door. So if you look close, you can see the fuel door in there right beside it. And then this looks like a secondary fuel door. I don't know. Just trying to use my imagination here. And coming around to the back, this definitely could have benefited from some paint. There's a lot going on back here, and I think that some paint really would have set a lot of this off. You know, you've got these little exhaust tips back there, and of course you have the tail lights and then this back window. So good detail, maybe for somebody who has a better artist touch than someone such as myself could probably deck this guy out and make him look really cool in his vehicle mode. Even cooler than he already is, I should say. And then coming over here to the left side, it's the same thing as the right side, but still comes together. It looks really good. Looking at him from the top, he does have a little sunroof, so that's a cool touch. And then you've got that little hood scoop and then the Autobot symbol, of course. Now, one thing that is a point of curiosity for me are these two holes right here. They're not used in bot mode for anything. They're not used in vehicle mode for anything. So I don't know what these are for. So if anybody out there does, say something in the comments. Let me know, because this is a genuine point of curiosity for me. They don't really take away from the looks of the vehicle, but I'd just really like to know what those are for. So anyway, that is the top, and moving around to the bottom until you see that head, which you could turn around, I suppose. But until you see that head, you don't really see a lot of robot here. So he's got his big old feet in the way, and then these are his shins. So it's actually a really nice, simple transformation for this guy. It's very fun and enjoyable, and I think both modes look really good. So yeah, I have very few complaints overall, and I think that this vehicle mode looks really cool. I really like the way this looks. So, and he rolls really nicely, so no complaints there. So what we'll do is I'm not going to go into the blast effects. I'm just going to throw his weapons on so you can see the different types of weapon storage that you can use for him in vehicle mode. And of course, I mean, you do have the option, if you want to super gun him, you can just put the super gun right up there in that port, and then you've got him looking like he's got a mohawk, actually, which is kind of cool. You know, it's just a super gun mohawk right there. So if you want to do that, great. If you don't, you just take these apart. So bear with me while I pull all this stuff apart, and then you've got all your individual components, and you have your ports on the side. So pick your side, it doesn't really matter. Plug it in, and if I squeeze a little too hard and pop this guy loose, or at least pop his roof loose, apologies. He is a little finicky in getting this roof tabbed in with these windows, so you got, or these doors. So you got to be really careful and make sure that you have him aligned nicely, or otherwise you'll have a little bit of trouble getting this roof tabbed in. And even then, at least on my copy, it doesn't want to stay tabbed in. Right now he's in good shape and he's feeling pretty solid, but if I torque on him too much, I know that roof's going to pop. So just proactively letting you know. But then yeah, you take your energy axe and stick it up here, and trying to be careful not to pop his roof. So you've got something like that going on if you choose to do so. So you could have that weapon storage like that, have that one over here. So yeah, you've got some options there. I think they look pretty good. It is the traditional stick the weapons on the vehicle mode somewhere and not really stow them away. So it's not the most graceful, elegant thing, but I can't argue with that energy axe. That it matches. This looks like a, I don't know, like a Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift kind of thing going on right there. So I've got absolutely no issues with that whatsoever. And you do have the added bonus of take your little blast effect here and throw that in, and yeah, now you've got a rocket Skids in his vehicle mode, and you've just turned on the nitrous, and he's going to get up and go. So even pop a little wheelie and then go. Why not? All right, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into those vehicle mode comparisons. For our first alt mode comparison, I unfortunately do not have a G1 Skids, so I'm bringing in a substitute. This is the G1 Gears. I figured he would work because he's a blue truckish kind of vehicle that has a sunroof as well. So there you can see Skids next to a G1 figure. Moving right along, here we have our next comparison. This is Rumble, as we saw him in Transformers Prime. Next up is the War for Cybertron Trilogy Trailbreaker. For our next comparison, here we see Skids next to one of his wave mates from the Legacy line. This is the Voyager class Bulkhead. Here we see Skids next to Skids. So this Skids on the right is the figure that we got with the release of the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Bayverse movie. And for our final alt mode comparison, this is the Legacy Skids on the left beside the Transformers Alternators Skids on the right in his Scion XB toaster mode. That does it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's get this guy transformed back into his bot mode and do some comparisons there. For our first bot mode comparison, here we see the Legacy Skids next to G1 Gears. Moving on to our next comparison, this is Rumble, as we saw him from the Transformers Prime series. Next up is Trailbreaker from the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. Now, I gotta say, these two guys look pretty good together. They look like they're from the same universe. Here we see Skids with one of his wave mates. This is the Legacy Voyager-class Bulkhead. Moving right along to our next comparison, this is the Skids figure that we got with the release of the 2009 Bayverse Revenge of the Fallen movie. And last but not least, here we see the Transformers Legacy Skids on the left, and on the right is the Transformers Alternators Skids. That's it for the comparisons. Let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. Alright everybody, so let's go ahead and talk briefly about the Transformers Legacy Deluxe-class Skids. In short, I really like this figure. He has exceeded my expectations. I didn't exactly have my hopes up when this figure was announced. I didn't know if it was going to be a good figure or not, and turns out he's a really good figure. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into those bullets, and we'll start with that first one, which is overall aesthetics. Yeah, I mean, he looks good in both of his modes. I like the bot mode a little bit better than the car mode, although the car mode looks great. Really where he suffers is just a lack of paint. You know, it would have been nice in his car or his alt mode if we could have had some of those, like the taillights, exhaust pipes, that kind of stuff decked out in a little bit of paint. And then in the bot mode, maybe have his shins and maybe his forearms, a little bit of paint there. That would have been nice as well. He does also have a couple of hollow areas that I do believe a third party is going to be able to do some types of upgrade kits there to fill him in, particularly in his legs. I think they'll be able to fill those in nicely, but it would have been nice to have seen maybe fewer hollow areas. But overall aesthetics are really good on this guy. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Moving on to the articulation. He is a well-articulated figure. He is limited in his head movement. It is on a ball joint. You can get a little bit of movement up, down, side to side, left, right, but not a lot. So I would have really liked to have the ability to have him looking up a little bit more, as if he was trying to shoot a Decepticon out of the sky. And then as far as those feet go, he's got an incredible amount of ankle tilt. You're not going to want for ankle tilt, but he doesn't have any heel-toe up-down movement. So it would have been nice to have had some there as well. But everything else, you can get this guy in any pose you want, and you can make him look absolutely fantastic on the shelf. So overall articulation, I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10. Now, moving on to the accessories. I believe this is where this figure shines. I mean, he shines in his design, engineering, transformation, so on and so forth, but this is kind of the benchmark that I want to see Hasbro and Takara set when it comes to accessories. That blue Energon battle axe gun thing, whatever you want to call it, is just cool, and you can do so many things with it. And then you've got that single pistol and that dual pistol, and the fact that all of them are blast effect compatible it's just icing on the cake. So he looks really good with his weapons, and you can do so many things with them because they're so modular. So accessories are great. For a deluxe class, I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10. Moving on to overall quality. I don't have any issues with this figure. He does everything that he's supposed to do. For the most part, his joints are nice and tight. I do have his right hip as it extends out toward the splits. It's a little on the loose side coming out of the box. But everything else looks good. No paint issues, no sculpt issues as far as any type of molding defects, anything like that. He came with everything that he was supposed to. So no major complaints. I just would have liked to have seen that right hip a little tighter. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on quality. Now moving on to our last bullet. This is the overall value. It's what I've said in previous reviews. The price on all these figures is starting to creep up. Supply chain issues, current events in the world, whatever you want to call them, the price is going up. It's getting a little bit harder to make the justification to make a purchase of these figures. So this was an item that I found in the wild in a Target in North America. On the shelf, he was $23 US. I don't have a problem with the price. I have a problem with the price in general for deluxe class figures, but for Skids, he's worth it. He's just fun. You can do so many things with him. So I didn't feel a lot of pain picking this guy up for $23. I don't like the fact that the Transformer deluxe class figures are now going for $23, but if they're going to keep pumping out figures that are like this for that price point, I'll keep buying them. So that being said, that to bring us to our grand total here out of a possible total of 50 points, Skids gets 42 out of 50, which puts him at 84%. This guy's an easy recommend from me. He's a different mold. We've never seen this before. Overall quality is good. Great posability. The transformation is fun and easy and intuitive. Really, the most frustrating part is just going to be if your roof is a little finicky like mine is. But even then, he's just so easy to transform, and you can do it in just a couple of minutes. It just adds to the playability of this guy. So if you want to, have him in his alt mode and then get him to his robot mode, boom, you've got him there, and he's done. So I think that this is definitely one, if you're a Transformers collector, that you're going to want to put on your shelf. So that being said, that's going to end the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you were entertained, and if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and leave a comment if you feel like it. And until we see you guys in the next review, take care.